We're going to call this May 29th, 2018 regular meeting of the City of Coolidge City Council to order. And is Pastor Eric Clune here? Okay. So please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Norma, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Jimmy Walker.
Here.
Councilmember Steve Hudson. Councilmember Robert Huddleston.
Here.
Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
Councilmember Joseph Marsh.
Here.
And Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta.
Here.
We have a quorum, Mayor.
Thank you. Under presentations, item number 4, monthly report by the Coolidge Youth Coalition.
Hello, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Mandy Alexander, and I'm the project coordinator of the Coolidge Youth Coalition. I'm excited to be here tonight to tell you how successful our 8th grade promotion celebrations were, along with our 15th annual Safe and Sober Grad Night event. We had 60 kids from each school attend our 8th grade dance and promotion celebrations, and 70 seniors attend our Safe and Sober Grad Night lock-in event. The kids had a blast with endless amounts of fun and laughter all night long. CYC was able to impact the lives of more than 200 Coolidge kids, keeping them safe and drug-free on graduation night. This would not have been possible without the help and support from Dave Turner, TransCanada, and our Coolidge community. I would like to take this moment to recognize all of the businesses and individuals who contributed, whether it was from a donation or service, to help make these events possible and memorable for our promoting 8th graders and graduating Coolidge seniors. So we have Dave Turner and TransCanada, Coolidge Police Department, Coolidge Rotary, Sam's Club in Chandler, Crop Production Services, Melissa Carter, Julie Martin, Jean Martin, Stacy Morrell, Rolbeto's Mexican Food, Lee's Foodland, Mike at Discovery Mart and Chevron, Yolanda and State Farm, Tags Cafe, Johnny Mija from McDonald's, Coolidge Family Dentistry, and Shope's IGA, and Sonic. So we really just want to thank our Coolidge community. Thank you to everybody who contributed. We had just a successful event with all 3 of them. So that's all I've got. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mandy. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item on the agenda is call of the public. That's the part of the agenda where the public gets to address the council. I'd ask that when you approach the podium, please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Norma, I understand you have a list of people, so...
Yes, I do, Mayor. They're not in any particular order, so I'm just going to call the first one I have. I have Richard Rodriguez. Would you like to come up to the podium, please?
Hello, my name is Richard Rodriguez. My address is 2208 West Pinkley Avenue in Coolidge. I'm here to talk about the Military Army Park, and I'm also here to say how disappointed I am on how the Artisan Village sat there and seized the park when they said that, according to this letter, that they want to honor the park in the future, like my father has, and out of respect for the veterans, they want to work with the local organization to run the park. But yet, on Memorial Day and the weekend, they didn't have the respect for the veterans or the fallen ones to put the flag at half-mast. On Memorial Day, which is an important day for lots of families and veterans, they didn't have the respect or courtesy to even open the park so veterans and their families can go and visit it. But yet, they wanted to take it from my father, Oscar, and the veterans because they think they can run it better, but no one could take the time to go open the park, put the flag at half-mast, or anything to honor the veterans or the fallen ones or their families. But and they think they can do a better job. Obviously, they don't have the same heart or the respect or the compassion or anything that my father had, or any of the veterans that put their time and effort into this park. And it's a very dishonorable thing that they did, and a disrespectful thing they did, but yet they think they can take it over, and that's just wrong. And if they want to say they honor the veterans like they say they do, then they should honor them the way they're supposed to be. The park should be given back to the Veterans Commission and the vets that it belongs to, not them. Obviously, they don't have the same heartfelt compassion or understanding that everybody else does, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Oscar Rodriguez.
My name is Oscar Rodriguez. I live at 213 West Palm Court. Today I'm here to address the City Council, the Mayor, and Rick Miller. Rick Miller on several occasions has told our committee in various meetings that he's willing to turn over the money, the funds, to a 501c3. Well, surprise, we have a 501c3 now that he can turn over the money to. No need for him to have it anymore. And we need our park back too. They didn't honor the veterans this Memorial Day. It was closed all weekend, like they promised it would be. Closed on weekends, only open Monday through Friday. That park should be open to honor all veterans. And I encourage the City Council that sits there looking like, you know, it's election time. So you should be doing something to get this park back to where it belongs, to the City Veterans Commission, and let the Performing Arts Center or the Artisan Village. I know the mayor says he has some properties that he should be able to donate to move this park out of that Artisan Village. Artisan Village requests receipts from us. Well, let them show us what receipts they have that they paid for anything in that park. We have our receipts. Do they have theirs? We want to get our stuff out of there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Lillian Rodriguez.
My name is Lillian Rodriguez, wife of Oscar Rodriguez, founder, creator, designer, and builder of the Military Honor Park here in Coolidge. I live at 213 West Palm Court. Mr. Mayor, the Coolidge Veterans Commission Board for the Military Honor Park did as you suggested. Both sides of this dispute agreed on Mr. Souza as mediator. On the second meeting, Mr. Souza asked PAC and AVC to give a flat rate cost so the military park could hold the Memorial Day event and also Veterans Day event at the Artisan. On the third meeting, the CVC agreed to pay the requested amount to have both events at the Artisan. But instead, PAC accepted this agreement. PAC presented CVC with a letter stating PAC was seizing the military park. Now, is that mediation in good faith? I call that a cheap shot. Vietnam veterans are a rare breed of veterans. They served, they fought, they died, and the veterans that made it home were received by some people spitting in their faces, calling them baby killers. No welcome home parade. These veterans, Vietnam veterans that fought and died for my freedom as well as yours, are tired of being disrespected, mistreated, and unappreciated. This is how Oscar feels unappreciated, disrespected by two Coolidge organizations, PAC and AVC. These two organizations might as well go up to Oscar and all other Vietnam veterans and spit in their faces, because that is what your actions, Rick Miller, and your board members are in effect doing. No one should mess with our veterans and their memorials, because they will come at anyone who does. They are a powerful force. Shame on you. Who ever heard of veterans paying to honor themselves at a veterans event? And those veterans who are not standing beside your veteran brothers demanding the military park be returned to you as veterans, shame on you too. This honor park became an honor, this honor wall became an honor park, and it was started in front of our home. Oscar built it to honor his friend, but also for his own healing. City officials, PAC, ABC should be honored that Oscar was and still is willing to share the military park with the Coolidge community, because the residents of Coolidge appreciate Oscar and his contribution to the city. As long as the park is on the property of the ABC and PAC, this dispute will never end. Mayor, you know I literally begged you to either donate or lease a piece of city property in a good location to relocate the park. You said you would take it to your board. If this relocation is not accomplished, this dispute will not subside. Remember, veterans are a powerful force. These two organizations are not dealing with just Oscar and his board. As I stand here before you, I see no one person that helped Oscar build the Military Honor Park, financially or otherwise. I do hope you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend with your family, because it is because of veterans like Oscar that made it possible for you to do so. PAC and ABC, please, please quit your outrageous behavior and let's move forward. We wish PAC and ABC well. Morally, you all know what you are doing is wrong. Please remember, what goes round comes round, and karma ho well. Mayor, we missed you Saturday at our Memorial Day event that you have always attended. Hopefully next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lennon. Next.
Robert Wilkinson.
My name is Robert K. Wilkinson, 1678 South Wooten Street. I was here a month ago, and during the meeting a month ago here, a letter was read by Rick Miller, which addressed their letter to Oscar Rodriguez and his committee. After reading that, something was said about us not responding to that letter, which in fact we did respond. We responded on April the 15th at 8:10 p.m. and the letter was sent to info@CoolidgePerformingArtsCenter.org. It was also sent to eight other people. And it reads, Coolidge Veterans Commission, Military Honor Park, nonprofit 501c3 pending, April 18th, 2018. Coolidge Performing Arts Center Foundation, attention board members. Your letter dated March 29th, 2018 has been received, and copies have been distributed to the board of directors for their review and is still under advisement. An original request was made in January this year for complete financial records of the Military Honor Park as maintained by the Coolidge Performing Arts Center Foundation. This request included donor funds, paver funds, expenses charged against the Military Honor Park, and all bank accounts and bank statements involved in the Military Honor Park funds. This request for financial statements have never been completed as federal law requires. Upon receipt of said request and review by the Coolidge Veterans Commission Board of Directors, the board will respond to your March 29, 2018 letter. The Military Honor Park will be closed until further notice from the CBC. Please note, future correspondences are to be directed to the Coolidge Veterans Commission Board of Directors at Military Honor Park-CBC@cox.net. Signed, Coolidge Veterans Commission Board of Directors. As I read this, and it talked about us getting our 501c3, during some little research of my own, I found on the IRS website, when it dealt with 501c3s, I found that in February 15th of this year, that an automatic revocation of a 501c of the Coolidge Performing Arts Center when I went checked the date that it was posted was in May. We have our 501c3. We're going to keep it. We're not going to have ours revoked. Whether somebody's working on your 501c3, I don't know. Quite frankly, I don't care. I am disgusted.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes,
your time's up.
thank you.
Next speaker is Scott Coach. Hope I said that right. Coach? Coke. Excuse me. Scott Coke. K-O-C-H.
My name's Scott Koch. I live at 215 South 13th Place here in Coolidge. Here we are again. 2 weeks have gone by, yet we're no closer to a resolution for this issue we face at the Honor Park. I've been told by a council member that it's not your problem. I disagree, and here's why. First, how many city officials are involved with the board at CPAC? Jackie Henry's husband's the president. Rick Miller's the city manager, is also there, just to name a few. I was at the last meeting when Rick Miller was negotiating in bad faith. There were roughly 6 points that were being discussed. All problems had been resolved, and then they pulled out a pre-printed letter that was produced announcing their intent to steal the park. Your reasoning for stealing the park is because people were mean to you. Really? What kind of ethics are those? To negotiate a deal only to back out when it's done. Then to add insult to injury, you have the founder of the park cited for trespassing and lock it on Memorial Day. Your behavior and ethics are downright appalling, not to mention using the good men and women of our police department as your personal bullies. After all of this, we find out CPAC had their 501c3 status revoked. Wasn't that part of the problem you claim with the Honor Park? How about all the money that was given to CPAC by the city at $25,000 a year? Where's the accounting for that? Still not your problem though, right? There was an agreement made in good faith when the park was built. Now you want to change the focus, trying to get the money. At the time the issue arose with CPAC and the Honor Park, CPAC was losing the property for being $14,000 behind in payments. To keep it, they had to come up with $20,000. All of a sudden, the Honor Park's money was moved to a different account. Coincidence? What it comes down to is we cannot and do not trust the words of those who negotiate in bad faith. You all have muddied the water so the people of the city have a hard time telling who's who and what's what when it comes to these two boards, meaning the city and CPAC. You all continually bring bad publicity to this city to further your own financial goals. The rally last weekend was just a small taste of what's coming. They will continue to get bigger and louder until this is resolved. If you haven't figured it out yet, we're not going anywhere. The community is not behind you or the Artisan Village on this. The Coolidge Veterans Commission has obtained their own 501c3, which you no longer have. We demand the park be returned to the control and operation of the Coolidge Veterans Commission immediately, without delay. Thank you.
Heidi Miller.
My name's Heidi Miller. I live at 1050 North 9th Street, Apartment 13, Coolidge, Arizona. About a year and a half ago, Oscar had asked me if I could help him out with some plants because I'd put some plants in the Blue Star Memorial. And I went to Imagine Elementary School, and I talked to the principal, and I talked to my grandson's class, And they did a fundraiser, and the day before Memorial, so that we could have the flowers in and have it look nice for the Veterans Day, not Memorial, so that we could have it nice for the Veterans Day celebration. We went and put the plants in and got it done right before. On May 10th, the Performing Arts Center read off a letter saying that they were taking over the management of the park. 6 days later, I went over there and pulled the plants because no one had watered them, and the 4 of them are dead. What kind of a message does this send to the kids over in Imagine Elementary School that went through the time and the effort to raise the funds and plant the flowers, when they take over the park and don't bother to water the plants? Now, Oscar went into the hospital at one time during the year, and Lillian called me up to make sure the plants got watered during the time period that he was in the hospital. When we went over there, they opened up the park, but they didn't bother to sweep the sidewalks either. So it sat there for 6 days without being cleaned up. I've gone over there with Oscar before when he was in charge of the park, sweeping up, watering the plants, taking care of it. I'm not impressed at all with the leadership doing this kind of thing. Arbitrarily taking over the park and not bothering to take care of it. Not bothering to have it open for Memorial Day. We still had a celebration, and we had it over at the VFW. Now, some of the people have already asked that their pavers be returned. Let's not make it an issue of taking everybody to court so that they can get the stuff back of the things that they've paid for. And I really resent the waste of my time and energy, and the waste of the kids' energy and time. And I'm glad my grandson hasn't seen that they just let the flowers die. I think we need better leadership than this.
Our next speaker is Kristen Self.
Hi, my name is Kristen Self, and I live at 2209 West Central here in Coolidge. Mr. Mayor and Council, when the doors of perception are cleaned, we can see what really is. At the moment, it appears that your doors are dirty. There's a tangled web of deceit ensnaring the city, Artisan Village, Performing Arts Center, and the Chamber of Commerce as you sit there in your haughtiness and claim plausible deniability. This isn't why each of you was elected to the offices that you now hold. Once again, you have allowed the city of Coolidge to be led down a path of embarrassment, ridicule, and derision because of a lack of intestinal fortitude. Allowing your city manager in either his official or individual capacity to run roughshod over a citizen in the memorial that he created with his own resources is tantamount to tacit approval of these deplorable, domineering, and divisive actions. Don't you think our veterans have fought long and hard enough? Isn't it enough that they've fought foreign enemies? Now they have to fight domestic enemies as well? I'm formally proposing for your consideration at the next council meeting, so if you'd be so kind as to direct the clerk at the close of this call to public to place on the agenda the creation of a mediation committee, comprised of 1 member of the Chamber of Commerce, 1 artist from the Artisan Village, 1 member of the City Council, 1 veteran, and 1 member of the general public who is not a chamber member, artist, council member, or veteran. The purpose of this committee would be to secure all relevant documents, meeting with each party individually and together, in an attempt to resolve the outstanding issues that exist. If the AV, PAC, or even Mr. Rodriguez refuse to fully cooperate, at least this council, this city could hold their head up high and say, we tried. We gave it our best shot. This is well within your authority as mayor of this city, and anything less than this attempt at resolution is an utter disgrace. Thank you.
Not sure if it's Nikki. Yeah, Nikki Gonzalez.
My name is Nikia Gardner-Gonzalez. I live at 126 South 18th Street. I'll get straight to the point and state that I'm standing here before you today because a great injustice has been done and continues to worsen in our community. I'm very concerned about the moral and ethical direction of the issues surrounding the Veterans Honor Park, and I'm here to humbly request that the city manager and or city council schedule a special session and take action to ensure that under no other authority, Mr. Oscar Rodriguez and the Coolidge Veterans Commission is appointed as the rightful primary custodian of a great tribute to our nation's heroes. While the circumstances of how this park came to be such a dispute are unfortunate, the recent behavior of the AV and the CPAC has been disrespectful, ungrateful, selfish, greedy, anything but patriotic, and simply unacceptable. I'm ashamed that the city has not, to my knowledge, publicly intervened in this matter, and I feel it is disgraceful that the city has allowed this behavior to continue in such a tyrannical manner. The council might not believe this is a city matter, that this issue is between the AV, CPAC, Mr. Rodriguez, or CVC. However, I disagree. While I don't claim to know it all, I'm not ignorant to the fact that the Chamber of Commerce is located within the AV, and the city utilizes the location for various functions, and the city does have the ability to sever all ties with the AV and CPAC on the basis of its unacceptable treatment of honorable residents. This issue has gone too far, and it's time that the city of Coolidge intervenes regarding the bullying and unjust treatment of its citizens. In October 2017, PinalCentral.com posted an article regarding the dissolve of an IGA between CUSD and CPAC. In that article, it states that City Manager Rick Miller was one of the board members of the CPAC Foundation. I don't know if Mr. Miller continues to serve on the board. However, if he does, there seems to be a great conflict of interest. The primary civil functions of the city attorney's offices are representation of the mayor and council in city matters, consulting with and advising department heads, preparing legal opinions, and preparation of ordinances, resolutions, agreements, and contracts. If the council and city manager are unable to resolve this issue quickly, then I certainly believe this issue falls within the city attorney's ability to assist with formalizing an official position. Based on all the information presented to me and borrowing from a book on degeneration, I view this issue as one of which the gamekeeper has turned poacher. And if there's nothing criminal in the AV and CPAC's conduct, it's surely because the criminal law is defective in this area. Ministers and public officers at all levels must exercise powers conferred on them in good faith, fairly, for the purpose for which the powers were conferred. I do not see any community members, perhaps other than those with a direct affiliation to the AV and CPAC, opposed to the CVC's position, perhaps because those AV and CPAC board members and staff are confident that their access to knowledge and power alone surpasses that of CVC's, and believes that because they are the stronger entity that they will win this battle. To those that might take this position, I would advise you not to count your chickens. Council members, I assure you that while the community may not have the luxury of time to show up for these meetings, we are watching, and your actions, or non-actions as it may be, is being closely observed. Mr. Rodriguez and the Coolidge Veterans Commission is absolutely the sole authority of the Honor Park, and I hope that you will appeal to your honor and good senses and take actions that are most beneficial for the community and veterans while taking a stand against oppressive behavior of the strong against the weaker. Thank you.
Janice Calvert.
Janice Calvert. I reside at 1031 South 4th Street. I am very disappointed in the outcome of the Veterans Memorial Park. It seems to me that the CPAC Artisan Village did not have any intention to negotiate with the Coolidge Veterans Commission during the mediated meetings. Those 3 meetings were a waste of everyone's time. So again, I'm asking for the city of Coolidge to get involved. We now have a beautiful pedestrian-friendly Central Avenue and Main Street. The city has often said they would love to see new businesses in that downtown area. Does the city have a parcel of land in the downtown area that they would be willing to donate, as other towns have done? One that would be suitable to relocate or rebuild the Veterans Memorial Park. That would certainly bring people to the downtown area. It could possibly attract new business to occupy all the empty storefronts on Central and on Main. That's all. Thank you.
Deb Ortloff.
Good evening. My name is Deb Ortloff. I live at 110 North Saguaro Street in Coolidge, Arizona. I am a Mainville veteran. I'm also a board member of the CPAC. I just wanted to address everyone and make it clear that we are not doing anything out of meanness or unconsiderable discernation to Mr. Rodriguez. We feel that he has done a great job in putting things together. At this point, we are looking at other groups to help us with the Military Honor Park, and that's still in talks with the groups within the board. In addition to that, when we were at those meetings, the discussion was very tenuous, challenging small things rather than looking at the bigger picture. In addition to that, the negativity that it continues on Facebook and such, I'm not afraid of any of it, but I'm just saying that it's unprofessional. At this point, the board felt that that relationship was not workable, which is why we were looking for another responsible group that will assist us with the Military Honor Park. And going forward, we would want everything to be very positive that we can do for our community and also for the Artisan Village and those in this within this issue of the Military Honor Park. But thank you. This is not something that is, in my opinion, a council issue. This is a private issue, and we have been trying to do that going forward, and want to thank you very much for our time, and have a good day.
That's all the speakers I have, Mayor.
Okay.
That still got the phone.
All right, thank you. Is that it? Nobody else? All right, thank you very much. Then we'll move out of the call to the public. We'll move into public hearings. I don't need a motion to move into the public hearings. Okay. The first one is item 5. To receive public comments on a zoning code amendment to Article 5, Section 501 Charlie by adding manufactured homes as a conditionally permitted use in the the ag zoning district. This is a public hearing. If anybody has, you're going to start off. Okay.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members. As you know, the P&Z Commission and staff, we've been working on corrections to the zoning code and also some common sense changes to the zoning code that are needed for a while. And as staff, we've been looking at those. We've taken to P&Z. We've had some to you before. In this case, manufactured homes are allowed in the city in an overlay zone, but they're not allowed at all in AG. In the county, you see them out in GR, what they call the agricultural areas. So we looked at that and thought it needed to be changed. We took it to P&Z. They agreed. They looked at it, and what this basically does is allow manufactured homes that are at least no more than 3 years old. They must be double wide or larger, could be a triple wide, and they must be ground set. And they would go into minimum lot size of 1 acre in agricultural zoning. But in the caveat with this, it would need a conditional use permit. So they would need to go before P&Z like they do in the overlay zone. And so if somebody has a very expensive house or property that they think will be detrimentally affected by this manufactured home, which they're very nice nowadays, then they could make some statements, and P&Z could decide if it's the right place to put one. And so we've allowed that. We want to allow that mechanism in place to allow a manufactured home if somebody in AG so chooses to try to put one in. So P&Z, they conducted a public hearing on April 4th, 2018, and they also concurred with the recommendation to vote to approve it and bring it forth to you for some action. So this is the second of 2 public hearings, and what we're asking is that you conduct a public hearing at this time, and then later in the agenda I have the action item if you so choose to approve the item. Thank you, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, so this is a public hearing. If anybody out there has any questions or anything they want to say, now's the time. Anybody up here? Go ahead.
I just was curious as to why the stipulation is in there of being a double wide or triple wide.
I think it's a matter of the quality of the unit. Not to say that single wides aren't good quality, but I think it's aesthetics, and the look, a double wide or triple wide look more like a regular home. And in our overlay zoning, we actually require a slight overhang, which some manufactured homes do not have. So there are manufactured homes now that look just like a regular house. They have drywall interiors, they sit on foundations. You really can't tell the difference unless you look at that little tag in the back. So that's the reason for it's aesthetic, and it fits more with the character of the larger homes. And a lot of these in the rural areas, if you look at the larger homes to the east, there are covenants and restrictions on those properties that say it has to be a stick-built minimum 1,500 square foot home. So some of that's controlled already by the property itself, and the people are selling it. In this case, it would apply where there was no control or no covenants.
Okay, I just noticed that, like the dairies and the different places, most of them have the single wide, so I was just kind of curious as why we were
Right.
completing that.
Vice Mayor Henry, I think being a county mobile home inspector back in the day, I think the dairies probably were looking at it more for financial reasons more than aesthetics. Just because I know those guys and I talked to them, and they wanted a nice place for the employees to work, to live, but they weren't really interested in providing a big, double wide, and it was their new units. They're very good. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Gil, I think most of those out there on a lot of the farms are the older single wides.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Does anybody have anything else? All right. We move out of this public hearing into item number 6. Public hearing to receive public comments on a zoning code amendment to Article 5, Section 1003, Adam, allowing an accessory structure to exceed the height of the principal dwelling when located on at least 1 acre in the agricultural zoning district. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members. Again, this is another item that if you notice out in the rural areas in the agricultural zoning, most of the accessory structures have to, right now, the way it's written, cannot exceed the height of the house. So we have 5-acre parcels that have a hay barn. They want to put one up, but it can't go higher than the house. Hay barns are pretty tall. So we thought this was a common sense approach to correcting that, to allow hay barns and other, because they're controlled by 25% of the maximum lot area. So there are controls in place already in the zoning that would prevent it from becoming this massive building and with a little house. And then the zoning code controls the type of business that goes there. It has to be agricultural or residential. And so we believe that's enough to keep the character of AG zoning in place. And all this would do would allow an accessory structure to exceed the height of the house. The maximum height would be 28 feet. That's what is allowed in AG. Of course, somebody could have a 2-story house, and they would probably be the same. But in this case, it would allow for a single-story house with say a pole barn for hay in the back or something like that. And it's interesting. I saw a house out there in one of the ranchette type areas to the east, and the owner had built this little steeple-looking thing on his house in order to comply and build this pole barn. And it looked so out of place. It was like, but he complied, and I thought, man, we need to change this. And as P&Z felt the same way. They also had a public hearing on April 4th. They heard the item. They recommended approval. And again, this is the second of 2 public hearings. We're just asking you to conduct a public hearing at this time, and then we'll have the action item a little later on the agenda. So then I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? This is a public hearing on this matter. Does anybody in the audience have anything they want to say to address this?
What is the distance between, say, the state barn to the neighboring property? Is there a set specific distance so they can't just block somebody in and block their view?
Mayor Thompson, and yes, the actual distance is 50 feet from the property line, I believe. Is it 100 feet? 10 feet to the side? To the back?
Rick says it's 50.
I thought it was 50. I guess that's for the main unit. So the accessory building's 10. Okay, I got my expert back here. That's why I told Tim to come in. So it's 10 feet to the property line, but the main structure is farther away. But you're talking like, if you have, it's a minimum 1 acre. So a lot of the ones we see are 5 acres or bigger. So they can put them up that close, but I don't know if I've never seen one that just totally blocks off. You're talking about the view shed, or?
Yeah, I'm just talking if somebody's sitting in a regular 1-story house and they have Just saying maybe there's a mountain or something like that.
Right.
And they have to be looking up to make it properly, but this large structure, two-story structure, whatever, or 8 line, and they just lost their deal. That's why I was wondering how far back is it said if it's far enough back. Is there a specific spot outpost they can put?
Yeah, and it's a balance between the property rights of people to use the property and then, you know, the view shed. Nobody's guaranteed a view shed. I mean, I'm afraid that's zoning law is kind of a balance between, you know, and Arizona is a very property rights driven state, you know, so when people are given rights for the property, so that can happen. I mean, it has happened, you know, but hopefully because it's agricultural and the properties are fairly large, that, you know, you won't have that much of an issue if it's far away and you see, you know, a 20 by 40 foot barn. It's far enough away we can still see the mountain around it. I mean, that's our hope, you know. But we're trying to address something that we've seen landowners run into that are just trying to build something for their property with like 5 acres, and we said, oh, you can't go beyond the height of the house, and they're like, but I've got 5 acres, you know. So that's what this was designed to do. It's to design. So hope that helps. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like
Great
to make a
question.
clarification. I'm just looking at the zoning code here. The accessory structures in an agricultural zoning district are 50 feet from property lines. It's 50 feet all the way front, side, rear,
is,
and
okay.
corner side for accessory structures too in the ag zoning district.
Okay, we'll double check. So it's
And P&Z heard this matter and they recommended.
yes, Mayor, they did.
Okay, last call for public. Anybody has to say anything from the public on this issue? Okay. Move out of that. Public hearing into public hearing. Item 7, to receive public comments on a zoning amendment to Article 10, Section 1008, Dog 1, establishing the distance requirement between medical marijuana dispensaries.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is one where the action that we're doing tonight is really, as you know, we have a few medical dispensary. We have 1 medical dispensary and then 3, I believe, existing cultivation facilities. And all this does, it just requires a distance between dispensaries, but does not apply that distance requirement to anything else like cultivation. In fact, when we first passed this and we looked at it, we had a distance requirement of everything. But what we found as time goes on, that it wouldn't be so bad to have some of these cultivation facilities. They don't sell anything. It's in an enclosed building. They raise the product. You don't see what's happening. They usually hire about 20, 25 people. And then the item, the product, the medical product is shipped to the valley or somewhere and is sold in a dispensary. But for security reasons, sometimes we, like in the industrial park, we could have 2, but we have a distance requirement right now that wouldn't allow them to go next to each other, which makes no sense because for security reasons, it'd be better to have them all in one place, really, because you could watch them all and make sure they're safe and nobody breaks into them. But so that's all we're doing. We're just applying the distance requirement to dispensaries only, but taking out any requirement on distance from the cultivation facility. So we could have one next to each other, say in an industrial park, if we so choose, or somebody decided to build one. And that's all this is. And so we took it to P&Z. They came up with a 500-foot separation for dispensaries, and this is again for cultivation and grow facilities, but this distance only applies to dispensaries. And so they held a public hearing again on April 4th. The Planning and Zoning Commission concurred, and they recommended to approve this and bring it forward to you with approval. And again, this is the second of 2 public hearings. Again, we're recommending a public hearing, and then later I'll have the action item on the agenda for your consideration. I'll answer any questions you may have.
What was the basis of 500 feet? Why was that number chosen?
Mayor Thompson, Commissioner, it was really a negotiation, I guess, is the way, because we had it was 1,320, and then the question was why 1,320, and then so one of the actual commission members threw out 500, and everybody agreed that that was a good number, and they didn't want them all together so close that they were, because we kept thinking of Safeway Plaza, and that it would be just full of dispensaries. It won't be because they have a distance requirement, and but that came up, so we wanted some separation between them, and only with the dispensaries and not the others. So
there's no rhyme or reason. They just said 500, and everybody said, "All right, that sounds good."
Councilmember March, they actually were, I think, were thinking of some of the other distance requirements they put on businesses, like the payday loans and those type of things, and try to follow that same analogy.
Oh, okay, that's better.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Still arbitrary. I like the direction. At least we're loosening up restrictions.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'd love to see more.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead. Go ahead and step up to the podium.
It's fine. This zoning restriction is basically just for the manufacturer facilities, correct? Or
dispensaries.
The dispensaries.
Not manufacturers.
So we're saying that dispensaries could be right next door to each other.
No, manufacturing could be.
Dispensaries
would have to be separate.
Okay. All right, that's understood. Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I get your name for the record? Yeah. Gilbert, I need name and address
sorry.
for the record.
Name and address for the record.
Oh, yes, name and address. My name is Bobby Jordan, 161 South 21st Street, Coolidge.
Well, seeing nobody else come forward, Mr. Lopez, I guess I'm going to close the hearing. All right. We'll move into next business items for consent. Is there any item on this item for consent that anybody wants to be taken off of there and dealt with separately?
11.
Okay. All right, here we go. Item 8. Consider approval of appointing Linda Heath and Kevin Todd to serve on the Library Advisory Board through December 13th, 2018.
31st.
Oh, December 31st, 2018. Item 9, resolution number 18-13, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement, IGA number IGA 18-000684I, between the state of Arizona, acting by and through its Department of Transportation, and the city of Coolidge for McRae Road, Woodruff Vaca Inn Road Rumble Strip Project. Item 10, consider approval of entering into a non-criminal justice user agreement for federal and state access between the Arizona Department of Public Safety and the city of Coolidge for the purpose of exchanging criminal history and/or criminal justice information on potential new hires for the city of Coolidge. Item 12, consider approval of accepting a $15,000 grant awarded to the City of Coolidge Police Department from the Phoenix Police Department, AZICA, Arizona Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, for the purchase of Celebrite software. Item 13, consider approval of not participating in the Urban County CDBG program and continuing to participate in the state of Arizona's Small Cities Regional Account Process and the Arizona Department of Housing State Special Projects CDBG process. Item 14, resolution number 18-14, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, adopting a residential anti-displacement and relocation assistance plan for fiscal year 2017 as required, is that right, as required under section 104D of the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended. And item 15, consider approval of the claims for the month of April 2018. Okay, it's consent agenda. I need a motion to do something.
Mr. Mayor, making a motion to approve items 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, and 15 as read under items for consent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember say 11 too? No,
11.
11 was pulled.
There is a second?
Second.
Okay, no.
Yes. Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 11. Consider approval of the police department entering into a one-year free subscription to Victim Link Seek Then Speak on an online informational counseling and reporting system for sexual assault victims. Okay. Chief?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members, I'll be happy to try and answer any questions that you have regarding this item.
I did.
Okay, Joe.
Chief, just looking over the document that was given to the council, it's for 1 year, correct?
Correct.
The date on it for the subscription was February. Is that, when does it begin? And have we already used 3 months of a subscription we haven't gotten yet?
No, when it's officially signed and they receive it, then the date will start, the actual kickoff date.
So that's going to change. On page 2, it says subscription start date 2/28 of 18.
That will change. We've actually gone through a couple cycles to get to this point.
Okay.
And so they've already explained to me that it'll start after the signed signatures have been collected.
What about after 1 year? Are we committed to anything?
We are not. We can opt out at that point.
What happens to any information collected during that 1 year? It's a good question, huh?
It's a good question. I assume Victim Link maintains it.
Okay. And do you have any idea of, in general, what type of information they will be getting?
I do not. It's going to be up to the user as to how much information they want to provide.
And this is specific for Coolidge residents?
For any agency that has the program,
But we would use it for Coolidge residents?
I'm sorry?
We would use it for Coolidge residents?
Correct.
Okay, so potentially at the end of the year, we don't know what, if we don't continue with this, we don't know what that information or where it would go, or if it would come to us and they wash their data, we don't know.
We don't know.
I can, Chief, do you mind? I can answer that.
Yep.
Sure.
I briefly talked to the chief about this and did some research and actually looked at the site. No personal data is provided to the site. Basically what the site does is it maintains information on organizations that the community offers to these victims. So the victim can get, it's actually web-based, so they get on to their website and actually starts answering a series of questions about being a victim. And then it goes on to, okay, are you a victim of sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, and then it goes into each one of those categories and gives you advice in different places to go for help. So the one set up for Coolidge would give particular organizations that Coolidge has to offer our victims.
Depending on the circumstances of the victim.
Correct. They're not entering any public information.
Or personal
information.
Okay, that clears up a lot. That clears up a lot, yeah.
Thank you, Councilmember Walker.
And then I think also you already answered this, but we're not committed after the year. It's
correct. We are not committed.
Okay, that's all the questions I had, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chief, you know, this is, the county attorney's office provides various services to all the police agencies in our county when it comes to these type of offenses as well as others. The Victims Advocate section of the county attorney's office participates in counseling all victims really, and they have set up some places that the victims can go, the alleged victims can go to be examined and counseled. I'm wondering what service is this going to provide that is different than what they're already providing? And I know that we don't have as many detectives as we should have. So is this going to help our people get it to their people quicker? Or, I mean, I see Jerry Monahan is kind of involved in this, and we all, worked with him over the years. So I know he was real heavy into the victims situation. So why do we need this? I mean, it's for a year. It's free. I mean, anything we can do to help our officers and help the people in Coolidge, or well, even if you're passing through, and you're sexually assaulted, you're going to fall into that realm. But why do we need this and not utilize their services?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, and council members, the main difference is that the involvement with the county attorney's office and their victims' rights and victim services all come after a victim has chosen to report the crime. It all comes after that. What Victim Link and Seek Then Speak does is give victims an opportunity to explore counseling, information, services, up to an end point of potentially then reporting to law enforcement. So this is before the fact, whereas county attorney and the majority of those agencies come after the fact.
Okay, I just want to make sure we weren't duplicating services and getting in each other's way.
We are not.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any?
I do have a question.
Okay.
Do you know if at the end of the 12 months, is there a way to find out how frequently it was used?
There are several universities that are going to be doing studies on this to see exactly if it did in fact increase the amount of victims coming forward and if it's a worthwhile product. So, and we'll have access to that information.
So somewhere in there it has to give a geography where that person is to make the data relevant for our area. It would have to say, I live in Coolidge.
Or the offensive code.
Right. Do you know, Jim?
When you get on, you put like your zip code, so it directs you to that community's health.
Law enforcement.
And there's no, you can only use so many, like you only get 500 hits and then we're going to start charging you over that, or nothing? No, Dennis? No. Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
It's kind of like a hotline.
Yeah, just getting the bugs worked out of it. Good. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, we need a motion to do something.
Mayor, move to approve business item for consent number 11 as read.
Second.
Okay. Take your second, Norma, and okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. Business under regular items. Item 16. Ordinance number 18-03. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending Section 501C of the zoning code to include manufactured homes as a conditionally permitted use in the agricultural zone, in the ag zone. Mr. Lopez.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, as stated, again, this is allowing manufactured homes in agricultural zoning as a conditional use. So what we're recommending is that the mayor and council approve the amendment of Article 5, Section 501C of the zoning code, allowing the manufactured homes in agricultural zoning as a conditional use. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Well, we just went through the public hearing, and P&Z has heard this already, and they've recommended that we. Is there any reason we shouldn't do this?
Mayor, I can think of none.
Have any questions?
Without further discussion, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
I move to approve item 16 as written.
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Murrieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 17, ordinance number 18-04. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending Section 1003, Atom 3, and Section 1003, Atom 4 of the zoning code to amend the requirements for accessory buildings and garages on parcels in the agricultural zone having a minimum size of 1 acre.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, again as read, this is for the accessory building height allowance to go higher than the main structure. So it's recommended Mayor and council approve the amendment to Article 5, Section 1003A3 and A4 of the zoning code, allowing the accessory structures to exceed the height of the main dwelling in agricultural zoning. I'll answer any questions you may have.
I just have a question between the 10 and 50 with the sidebar going on.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, while it's not related to this particular matter, because we're talking about building height, the question did come up from Mr. Navarro about the setbacks. I will eat my words. Tim, he knows the ordinance like the back of his hand. I misquoted the ordinance. Basically, what I was referring to are conditionally permitted structures and other principal structures, but the zoning code does say 10 foot for accessory structures related to a single family home. So if you want to put an accessory structure that is accessory to a single family resident, it can be a residence. It can be within 10 feet of the property line, not 50. Okay.
So Mayor and Council, as you can see, there are nuances to the zoning code that we work as a team to try to get to the right when we review all these.
But that 50 foot, I mean, what we're talking about tonight is height. We weren't really talking about the setbacks tonight as much as the height.
Thanks for coming, Tim.
Yes, thanks, Tim.
Okay.
Keep him straight.
He's on the team.
All right, then. If there's nothing further, I look for a motion to do something.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Norma?
Councilmember Murieta?
Yes.
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 18, ordinance number 18-05. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending section 1008 of the zoning code to revise the distance requirements for medical marijuana uses.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, again, as we talked about earlier, this is strictly for the dispensaries, for the distance requirements. So it is recommended Mayor and Council approve zoning code amendment to Article 10, Section 1008D1, establishes distance requirement between medical marijuana dispensaries. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Okay, if there's no questions, then I look for motion to do something.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item 18 is read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Norma?
Councilmember Marsh?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Henry? Yes. Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Councilmember Walker?
Yes.
Councilmember Murieta?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll move into the report from the mayor, council, and our city manager. We'll start down here with Councilmember Walker.
Mayor, I have nothing.
Rob?
There's nothing.
Nothing for me, sir. Just thanks the military, police, fire, EMS. All you guys are doing great jobs. You're doing a lot of stuff people don't know about that you're having to put up with, and then go rescue a cat out of a tree. And wow, I'm glad I don't have that job. So thank you guys. That's it.
I attended the chamber luncheon, and the school superintendent gave a presentation. Was very informative.
Mr. Miller?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, tonight my name was brought up on a number of occasions during the public comment, and I just wanted to take a minute to address the council on a couple of issues. I think it's appropriate since I was called out personally on some of these public comments tonight. My role on the PAC Foundation board is as a board member. I'm one member of a board that I think has at least 13 members. There may be more than that, but 13 members. Ricky Lapaya is another board member. We're the only two city employees that are on the board. My position on that board I took over actually when Bob Flatley used to be on the board as city manager. I'm continuing in that role, and primarily my involvement in this whole thing wasn't so much to talk about and try to figure out what to do with the military honor park. It was trying to figure out what to do with a vacant school building that was on the entrance to the city of Coolidge. That was becoming a real problem for the city in terms of its image. There's nothing beautiful about a big vacant building that has no use. And I, as in my prior role as a development services director, was asked to work with a small group of people to figure out the highest and best use for that facility. And that decision was, and it was presented to the school board, to make it into the artisan village of Coolidge. There's a great number of people involved in that discussion and worked very hard. A lot of volunteers, no one earning a salary there on that in any of those groups, to try to make something out of that building that the city of Coolidge could be very proud of. very proud of the idea of having a military honor park on that property. The board, as well as the Artisan Village of Coolidge core leadership team, felt that that was a very appropriate use on that property, and that would be much better there than it was in a residential home or residential front yard where very few people could see it. I participated in good faith, and I have from the day one, on trying to make that project work. I knew Bob Souza, who was asked to be one of our reconcilers. Bob Souza is a friend of mine, and I know he's a friend of Oscar Rodriguez, and believe me, I will say, like Bob Souza said during our reconciliation meeting, that Bob has a heart for the veterans, as does Mr. Rodriguez. Oscar has a heart for veterans. I have a heart for veterans. My father is a veteran. Several members of my family are veterans. I served 20 years with my father in the military as a dependent. I've done numerous things to help the veterans here locally, including painting VFW buildings, helping the disabled American veterans with Eagle Scout projects to do signs on their front of their building. I've done numerous projects to help the veterans in the city of Casa Grande, including the restoration of a VFW post there on 2nd Street. I've dedicated a lot of time. I don't ask for any recognition for that. I do it because out of love for this country and our veterans. I feel a little bit attacked here tonight. I hope the community and the people in this community and the veterans that I know don't think that I have any disdain for veterans or what we're trying to do. We're trying to have a facility that's open. Our board opened the Veterans Park. It was locked. We opened it. We cut the lock off. I felt it was, as the board felt, that it was inappropriate to have that locked. We'd love to have a veterans group come in and assume the management of it. So I just wanted to just say that there's been a lot of false statements. In our negotiations, there was a lot of social media out there involving members of the Rodriguez family and others who had some very harsh things to say about the Artisan Village and the Performing Arts Center Foundation. There are comments in there that I won't repeat. They're not worth repeating. But those social media discussions were very, they were attacking, they were bullying, and it was inappropriate. And I think that's why the board felt that we were going nowhere with those negotiations. I'm still hopeful that things can work out. We do have a 501c3. I'm upset that people have put out there that we don't. There is a website on the irs.gov website that says there is an automatic revocation statement, but it says also that this in no way says that the 501c3 has been revoked. We have a CPA who's filed the necessary paperwork. Our former CPA did not file it in a timely manner, so there was a notice that it was an automatic revocation. Our CPA today says it's not revoked until they tell you it is revoked with an official letter. We have an official letter that says we are a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization, and that is our status today. And it's a little disconcerting that people are out there saying that we're not, because that could actually impair our ability to secure additional funds to support the Artisan Village. And it's very discouraging to me that people would make those claims when they really don't know what they're talking about. Our CPA assures us that the paperwork is in order, that we will have our 501c3. It's still there, and as soon as they go through the most recent filing, that issue will go away completely. That's all I have to say, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Last week, I believe it was, and I don't see him sitting out there. Last week, Mr. Miller and I met with CPS, with the Complete Parachute Solutions, about bringing power to the airport. We're working on some things with that. We attended in this very building behind those curtains, if you will. We attended the Summer Emergency Preparedness program put on by APS to help improve communication between all the agencies, the police agencies, APS, hopefully ED2, and a lot of the agencies involved when we have our power outages during the summer. And today I met with a bunch of the farmers at San Carlos Irrigation District here about water availability in Coolidge, well, in this area, if you will, in the Pima, in this area. And looks like we may get CAP water, but things are going to be pretty tight this year. The farmers aren't going to be able to plant nearly as much as they usually do. And the water to the subdivisions that have irrigated lots, there's going to be some real changes on some of that. So it's interesting. The water situation isn't good right now. So, but there's nothing, you know, I don't think there's anything we can do about that except hopefully it'll rain. But CAP, fortunately, does apparently have the water to carry us through. And in response to the call of the public, there were a lot of, I actually heard some good ideas come out of that. So I'm glad they showed up and expressed their opinion. And certainly we're hearing them and we're looking into it, but we're not the body that regulates or nor controls Artisan Village. So they have an agreement with the school, and actually the county attorney's the school's attorney, and you know, we're kind of, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, you need to jump in the fight. It's another thing to have a legal reason to be there a lot of times, and Mr. Fitzgibbons advises us on many occasions on what we can do and what we can't do, but we'll look into the situation. And in saying that, I look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
That was quick. Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for coming, everybody.